Welcome to the Simply Incredible podcast. I am Daryl, a.k.a. The D. And with me is Troy Champney.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
And Jay PZE.
I want to shoot, baby.
Dear Lord, don't shoot. Don't ever shoot again. Not on my podcast. On Troy's podcast, you can shoot all you want.
Okay, totally amazing podcast.
And with us is special guest, comic book illustrator and cover artiste, Matt Slade.
Evening, yay me.
Giggity. You know what? I'm going to start putting some of those giggities in here too. I've actually covered now, so we get some giggities.
Okay. When we make more money at this thing, you need a sound effects table thing.
Get the soundboard.
Well, I've got the touchscreen. I can actually work this out.
We need more cowbell.
We do need more cowbell. And we'll start off with, next week we're going to do UFC and martial art, like history of. Are we just doing UFC?
I don't know. I like the whole history of martial art.
The whole history of martial art. That may take 2 to 3 days.
Series
yes.
Straight to Netflix.
We start with Genghis Khan, and we're going before him.
I don't care. Shaolin temples. I don't care. Farmers with nunchucks.
Ooh, farmers with nunchucks. All right, and today we're going to start off with Deadpool. Did anybody actually see this movie?
About $150 million worth of people saw it.
Yeah, there we go.
Broke all kinds of records this last weekend, didn't it?
Really?
Awesome.
What records?
Financial.
No, I understand
Highest opening for a rated R movie.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I just thought it was another comic movie. It's like, I'm pretty sure they didn't pass Star Wars.
No, but for a rated R movie, and I think for an opening in February
And a Valentine's Day event, yeah.
No.
They certainly marketed that way. And about 20 other different ways, too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's
definitely a love story. Take your loved one to
Well, he admits it. He says it right out the beginning. It's a love story.
It's a love story.
So there you go.
I certainly
Oh, by the way, for those who may not know, this will contain spoilers, which I should have said that a few minutes ago.
I'm sorry that you had to look directly at me when you said that.
I was looking at myself, but I couldn't see me.
Matt had a really good some insight there where he said, no, we don't need to tell anybody. Deadpool would want us to spoil.
Absolutely. He's not the nicest guy in the world, and if he were here, he would ruin it for absolutely everyone. And I think, to at least honor the character, we should ruin it for absolutely everyone.
He's an avocado.
The Butler did it!
Darn it, Butler.
I'll tell you what, I was right out of the gate, I loved how they even did the intro.
Yeah.
How they, instead of putting up the actor's name.
Oh, that was phenomenal. That was great.
Yeah.
The biggest idiot in the world.
Standard
a hot chick.
Standard British villain.
A grumpy, moody teen.
Yeah. The British bad guy.
The self-deprecating humor, I love that because it immediately diffuses any critic who's just going in there just to hate another comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
You have no ammo now. Shut up.
Yep.
Oh, dude,
just enjoy the ride. Just put the pen down and enjoy the ride because we took the seatbelts off. We're just waiting for that windshield to get closer and closer.
And you knew they're not going to take themselves so seriously on this one, where anybody's going to be able to attack it. This is going to be a fun couple of hours, man. Which I thought it was a blast. Did you enjoy it?
Dude, I loved every minute of it.
Fun from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Feel good hit of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Work that stupid crap in.
Now, was there any part you looked at and go, okay, that's just so funny?
God, which part?
Man, I mean, like right off the first one that really come to mind is where did he get that ring from that he put on her finger? That was killing me.
The ring and when he picks up the old Deadpool action figure from the
yes.
Great. I wasn't sure, I know they're going to take steps that are going to be inappropriate and there's going to be some fourth wall stuff, but just how much of that I wasn't ready for, and I was so happy to see it every time.
Mm-hmm.
All the Hugh Jackman references.
Oh, yeah. He took his mask off, and had that mask on.
I know they had it in the trailers, but no animated green. I mean, just that kind of poking fun and not taking himself seriously. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick out one of my favorite spots, but I loved even, because it would have been disappointing if it was all comedy and they hadn't done justice to the action scenes where, Deadpool is supposed to be, a master martial artist. It was really well choreographed. I love the fight scenes, especially the very last one.
Yeah.
I was like, that was fun.
That was great.
That was fun.
I'm very proud of T.J. Miller for getting through a superhero / sci-fi / action movie without dying.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time. I think this is the first time he wasn't blown up or set on fire or something horrible. Transformers 4 or 10 or whatever one it was comes to mind where they turn him into a molten metal hunk of whatever it is.
I remember.
I felt so bad for the guy.
Yeah.
I know. It was the only good thing about it. And I was like, oh, they're going to get rid of him this soon?
Dude.
All right. So it's a one-act play. All right.
I liked him. I really loved how they did Colossus.
Yeah.
Oh
They did
my
him justice.
gosh.
That was
Yeah.
great.
So good. Totally different too. It's funny to see, how different it was than, Bryan Singer's version, in the past where he's more of a pretty boy,
Yeah.
more proportionate size-wise to a regular human.
Well, that actor is an underwear model, I think.
Yeah, right.
Codliff, is that his name?
I'm
Yeah.
glad y'all knew that because I had no idea.
Well, when you spend as much time as I'm not going to finish that sentence. I can't dig my way out.
You're there.
No, I'm done now.
I'll tell you what, though, the way that the metal looked on Colossus, how it was like, beat up looking,
Mhm.
chromy
Yeah.
and stuff, his accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought that was perfect.
I loved how thick the accent was.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
didn't bug me at all. Like, that sort of cartoony stuff usually gets on my nerves. You're trying too hard.
Yeah.
But in this movie, for some reason, the way everything else was cartoony and silly,
Mhm.
it just seemed to be the anchor. The voice of reason was still cartoony.
All right.
Hey, it was better than Nicolas Cage Con Air Southern
Yeah.
accent.
Oh, yeah.
Honey.
Put it in the box.
Oh, man, like, shut up, Nick.
I tell you, one thing I did love also was when Deadpool went to the X-Men mansion.
Mm.
He's like, oh, it's a big, huge building, only 2 people. I guess that's all we could afford.
That's all.
I was correct.
The studio didn't want to pay for more extras.
Yeah.
Well, am I the only one who saw it? And I'm sure this has been done a million times, but that house has been used as the X Mansion successfully, consistently, which I really appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see a background element like that make its way into a mythos. Is that not the same house that was Lex Luthor's house in Smallville?
Ooh, now that would have been neat.
That is interesting. I have no
feel
idea.
like the frontis of that house was so familiar, and I feel like covered in ivy. I'm probably wrong, and there are going to be a whole lot of nerds that are nerdier than me screaming at their radios. They're yelling at their laptops right now, going, "No, you fool!" But I don't know. For some reason, in my little tiny brain, I want that to be true.
That would be really neat.
that would be great.
If that was good.
See,
That would be neat.
The go-to
every time I
house
really
for
remember
comic
seeing
book rich
that-
people.
Yeah.
Every time I remember seeing that, it was always dark on the show.
Yeah, it was always at night.
Yeah.
And it almost had like a stained glass kind of window
Mhm.
look to it. What they were showing.
Well, that element, as a storytelling element, because we're veering off of Deadpool now, but if you show it at night and the light from the inside shows that window, then you can do a smash cut to inside the room, and by virtue of seeing the stained glass, you're in that room,
Mhm.
and now you've done
Gotcha,
an establishing
you
shot.
transferred.
Mhm.
So that just becomes a storytelling element.
I love having a professional illustrator.
Yeah, exactly.
Dropping knowledge bombs, man. I love it.
That have nothing to do with Deadpool. Sorry.
I'm
sorry.
actually going
This crew is
to.
digging it in.
All I know is this: when I get home, I'm going to be looking this up to see if I look like the same building.
We all have smartphones.
They got these things on. They don't even look like
Hey, is there any kind of? There is a search engine?
I think so.
Wow,
You
you-
punch in a word.
You made me go high pitched voice on this. I didn't
I think the
know.
popular one's called Bing.com.
Man,
Oh,
oh,
you can bing it.
I don't know. They've trademarked that.
What's Bing?
Bing bong.
I only go to Bing when Google just.
Oh wait,
okay,
are they like sponsoring you? Bing is great.
They're great.
What?
They should
Of course
be.
they're sponsoring
They
us.
should be.
Yes.
I mean, this is heard all over the world.
Yeah, so.
Believe it or not, I actually do have people in Norway and in Australia who's actually listening to some of these podcasts.
I'm pretty sure they were the vinyl pops, though. They weren't these.
Not one, but two shades. Feel free to use that in something.
Hey,
The D says not one, but two shades.
what do you think about Gina Carano in this one?
Love her.
Yeah, beautiful.
I would say that she looks like she put on a little weight.
She looked thick, right?
I didn't want to
Yeah.
say that,
she looked heavy.
but I
She was,
still love her to death.
Still
Right,
hot.
trim and haywire, but
Yeah,
if that's the face,
Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah.
but you know what? The way that she did, I actually thought she did a good job. Her acting as far as trying to be a thug, a heavy and stuff.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, you're cool.
I like the endomorphic sort of body frame for her for this movie because she was the one who had to take on Colossus.
Colossus,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I
Oh.
want to see that kind of a body style. I want to see
That's
that body type take on Colossus. You have to believe it, kinda.
Oh yeah, a little
And-
bit, right?
And I know she can fight.
Yeah.
We all know that.
She can
So-
rock.
I think when she punched him and he went flying, I was like, oh, no, she
Yeah.
didn't.
But you know
Well,
what?
that would have happened to me if she
Yeah.
punched me. It's
Yeah,
exactly
Yeah, and there'd be
But I
nothing
don't
else
like
about it.
how they do that a lot of times in comics. In fact, when they did it, that's the one thing that did kind of tee me off a little.
Really?
I don't like how all of the baddest of the bad get their butts handed to them in these movies by a woman villain all the time. I mean, yeah, Lady Deathstrike, remember with Wolverine.
Okay, but Wolverine got his butt kicked in every single movie.
I know, but it's
and he's probably getting his butt kicked right now that we don't even know about.
Well, it's like when you do a martial art demo, a lot of times one of the things they want to do is have a woman do the self-defense techniques to a guy to show, hey, and then look at you could do this.
But that was Kelly Hugh. I would pay her to do that.
I would pay her to do that. Very a lot of truth there.
There's another touche.
She does the Viagra commercials. How do you not pay her?
Dude, she is just...
You're welcome. That's for later.
All right. File 13. But honestly, I didn't like that. It's like, wait a minute, Colossus, you're here to be Colossus.
Yeah.
And really, as a story point, they just said, well, we want you to take and be in here so that when she hits you, she has some gravity to, her character.
Well, they said right off, I mean, she's got this super strength.
Oh, sure.
And so, I mean, I had no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I get tired.
I mean, I just love that fight.
Beat up by women, man. I'm like, come on. All the time.
Send your letters to Troy Champney.
About what, man? I love women.
That scene, the scene you're talking
Good cover.
about, was so important. Not just because it's where the good guys face off against bad guys. It's very OK Corral kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But that scene, which got used in the commercials, so trailer nothing, shut up. There are two things going on in front of the camera, behind the camera. The drop set for that, the backdrop for that whole scene. Do you remember what it was?
You about the junkyard?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that was built on?
Helicarrier.
It was a downed helicarrier.
No, I didn't catch that.
It was a downed helicarrier, officially cementing it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Did not catch that.
But
I literally thought it was like
a shipyard.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
I did not even notice
helicarrier.
that.
So that was going on, which made me super happy. Just like the fanboy in me was like going nuts. And then this other thing happened. When they showed Colossus, who was page perfect translation from one of his older costumes, the mask, the costume, everything. That whole scene, when Negasonic Teenage Warhead goes bananas, they show what was such a page perfect translation of what would be a New Mutants costume. And I'm thinking,
Oh, that costume was phenomenal.
Now we're seeing page perfect translations directly from the comics being shoved, not even like eked into, but like they're prying open the Marvel Cinematic Universe's mouth and just force feeding. This is what it should be, you idiots! Like, and I've loved the Marvel movies so far, and I'm even down with some of the little changes. There are some changes I would never endorse, but I'm generally cool with it. But now you've done this thing where it's page perfect.
Dude, that's
and there's hope that it can be page perfect more so.
Which, I mean, because for the longest time, they just kind of wrote it off like, well, it's a different medium. This is video, not the page, so, it's not going to really work. And it's like, why not?
And that's one thing Josh was saying about the X-Men. Is like they need to have their original costumes and stuff. Don't put them all this black leather.
Not all the time. That's good for a one shot. Hey, cool.
It's like baseball had the alternate road jersey.
I mean, Singer's going to go into Apocalypse. He's dumbing his powers way down for the screen.
Get him Singered.
Well, I remember what Singer said. I was at the Kubert School when the first X-Men movie was being made, so this is just the thing that everybody talked about. Ooh, look at this, look at this, look at this. And that was when there was that rumor that Glenn Danzig was going to play Wolverine, and Mel Gibson was going to play Wolverine, and Robert De Niro was going to play Wolverine, and no one knew who Hugh Jackman was until the first commercial came out. Fair, that's fair enough.
Oh, totally.
Right, so there were all these, we're seeing all these black costumes. What's with why not the gold and yellow? And his reason at the time wasn't even an excuse. It was a legit reason. The film that we're using this kind of film, we're using this kind of frame rate, and the leather, the way it's reflecting is that shade of yellow keeps coming off as a bright orange. So we just had to nix all of that. And I was like, you know what? That's legit. Sure. But now everything is digital.
Yeah.
Direct translation.
Can switch it.
We can do things now. And I think Hugh Jackman would be down with that because that
he wants it.
Well, that scene that was shoehorned in at the end of Wolverine.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I can't remember if it was in the theater or just on the Blu-ray. But he opens up the suitcase and there's the brown costume.
You can see the costume.
Yeah. And I was like,
I think it was only on the Blu-ray. It wasn't on the theater.
Yeah. I mean, I bought it for that. I'll admit. Like my fandom for that was so manic. I was like, I don't care if it's a 13-second clip. I want
to see it.
Yeah. So.
I just thought about Big Bang Theory when they did Raiders of the Lost Ark. Was it?
Right.
Was one movie they had it 13 seconds and they're all standing in line for it. It was like, yeah, I know, right? Come on, 13 more seconds.
Right.
Heck yeah.
No, yeah, but when I saw that too, I remember thinking, wait a minute. You already know that this is what we want.
Yeah.
Now you're teasing it, but you just didn't pull the trigger. We gotta wait another 3 years because I think they're going. I saw today where they were trying to maybe push for a rated R final Wolverine.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and I was thinking,
get him to go berserk on somebody.
well, not only that, but it's like this is. If
I
you're
want a
gonna do
room
the
full of red
costume-
ninjas
Yes.
having the worst day of their lives. Man.
Yeah.
That's
Look
what
at
I
like a wave coming at him. Just this massive Kill Bill type segment. You know,
Oh, yeah.
bring it. I would love if they do that, but after seeing the Silver Samurai be a cyborg, almost like dude, I hated
All right. That's the thing.
I
The
hated that.
Wolverine, I was so happy with from start to finish, right up until the finish when they stole the ending from the first Iron Man movie.
Right? I was
What they established and introduced the Muramasa blade in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Would it have been so hard to just get? No, by the end of the movie, Wolverine's powered down. He's got bone claws. He can be hurt. He can be killed.
right.
Would it have been so hard to give us that fight scene with the father and him, a powered down Wolverine versus the Muramasa blade? You know how much emotion they could have crammed into a one-on-one,
That could have been
Yeah.
old school
Yeah.
Kurosawa style samurai fight scene?
Dude, that would have been good stuff.
But no, they made it Iron Man 1.
And I was like, why did you do that?
Yeah,
It was like you guys just didn't have faith in, I guess, the writing. I guess.
and Harada wasn't even the Silver Samurai anyway.
Dude, right? I was like, that's not even him.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, Deadpool.
Yeah, well, I said one last question. What did Connor think about it?
really, really impressed with how funny it was.
Mhm.
It made him blush more than he probably cared to. My 12-year-old. I was like, yeah.
He's a 12-year-old with the internet. He's seen it already.
Right. Yeah.
Not Connor. No,
Well,
not
the thing
Connor
is-
Chapman. He knows nothing.
My boy, I tell you what, I'm really proud of him. He's like the white knight in his group of friends where
That's
he's
cool.
made a stand. He's not going to take and curse. And when they do, he calls them out on it and stuff. And I'm like, dude, are you going to be okay? I mean, there could be some language in here. And he goes, I make my decisions. They don't make my decisions for me.
That's awesome.
Atta boy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
awesome.
Dude, I was like,
I taught him well.
but he loved the Deadpool character. He loved the whole breaking the fourth wall and
Mhm.
having them not take. He got the jokes, about that. He was like, "Did you see that? They couldn't afford more money for more characters." And I was like, "Did you catch that? Very cool."
That's awesome.
That sort of interaction, that fourth wall interaction. Segue, you ready for this?
Mhm.
Is one of the reasons I chose one of the covers.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're starting out with the comic book covers, the ones we look at and just say they're epic. And one thing before we start, I want to know what each person's criteria for the cover is.
Sure. Go ahead, Matt. You're the actual cover
Yes.
artist.
Oh, Lord.
And we
We're
actually
gonna take and be downhill for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, I plan on stealing half the stuff that comes out of your mouth, just rewording it.
Awesome. I'll be happy to be
What he said.
For me, I don't know if there's a solid criteria so much as when I think of an epic cover, it's got to be so visually striking that when I walk into the comic shop, I can look at that wall of everything new on a Wednesday morning.
Yep.
And there's one thing that stands out. Out of everything that stands out because of how new and fresh and awesome it is,
Mhm.
there's still one thing. And it might be a book I never heard of.
Yeah.
But somebody took the time to utilize design elements, color balance, some sort of motion, some kind of contrast. I don't know. Something where the image itself, maybe it tells the story of what's going on inside the cover or inside the book or not, but the cover itself connects directly with the viewer on some sort of primal level.
Yep.
There's got to be a primary emotion being tossed into this thing, and it's got to come through in the interaction with the person looking at it.
Mhm.
I have my favorite characters, but I have my favorite artists, but those two things don't always interlap.
Mhm.
They overlap. They just don't really meet each other very often.
Yeah, and when they do it special.
Oh, it's very special.
Very
Mhm.
special.
And that's when I'm standing in line to get something autographed.
Oh.
No doubt. But yeah, I'm looking for that thing that says you don't need the rest of this book because all of the emotion is right here in front of you, right here, right now.
Mhm.
And
You could buy it for that.
and I have.
Ditto.
I have. So it's a rare thing. But that's what I was looking for. I got kind of a mishmash. I was, different ideas. So we'll go through them. But that's what I was looking for.
What about you two guys?
I don't think I can say much better than that. It's like you said, it's just something that incites an emotion in you. You see it and you're like, I gotta have this book.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it syncs up to what's actually happening in the book or not, it's just like, This looks incredible. I need to own this.
In this world of variant covers.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I look at a cover that's going to become like one of my favorites, I want to take and first of all think, in terms of, to me, that's art.
Mm-hmm.
It might be somebody else's idea or something like, okay, why would you pick that? Because it reached me. A lot of times I have favorite artists that I want to see them, do certain characters or something. Like, I love Michael Turner. I love the Silver Age, some of their stuff, and Jim Lee, Alex Ross. But every now and then, when I see something like that, where they kind of matched something that I had kind of thought of, and brought it to a realization, almost like we were talking with Deadpool, where, man, that's kind of what I was hoping to see. That's why I loved Alex Ross's work. It was like, man, he made it look like these were real people wearing clothes, not just something that you wouldn't translate. You could see the wrinkles in Spider-Man's outfit. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Or if there was something in there that I hadn't thought of before, but it kind of enlightened me. I was like, okay, I never would have even, thought that kind of a possibility. But man, opening my eyes, I don't even care what's inside. I need to own that. But you got me curious because a comic book cover artist can ruin us in terms of don't judge a book by its cover. We can't help it.
Yeah.
We can't help it. Way to go, Matt.
So biting my tongue right
now. But I can't help it. I love it. I mean, there are comic books that I have just bought because of the cover and never even opened them, and I don't care. I've gotten so much joy from that. I'm afraid of ruining it.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like a work of art. That cover, and I'm gonna say this compared to a panel. The panel, to me, there's so many great panels that if you take that panel out of the book, you could actually put it on the cover. But vice versa, you don't need to be able to take that cover and be able to stick it in the book. And so many covers I've looked at and said, I could put that on my wall as an actual piece of art.
Yeah.
Not just, that's just another cover.
Right.
And that for me is like my big criteria. Something that I look at and I could go, wow, I could put that on my wall as an actual just piece of art.
The guys who do that there's big influences on me. Like for me, it's David Mack, Bill Sienkiewicz, Joe Jusko, Jay Lee. Like those, those guys. Those are the ones to me. When you describe a cover that way, those are the guys who pop into my head. Nelson Farr de Castro is another one. I could frame just the cover and just be perfectly happy just hanging that up because you nailed it. Like for those guys going in, they're just going to nail it every time, and it can just come from this really, really deep down place, and you have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, are they getting the character right? Screw that.
Yeah.
All right, they've done that for years. We know they can do that. This thing is so off the wall beautiful that it kind of transcends the paper that it's on.
Yeah.
Those guys know how.
That's why I love seeing those. But who wants to go first? Who's got dibs on it?
Let's keep the same kind of thing. Hit it, man.
Okay. Well, I sent in. Let's see.
Now I will say this: these guys have not seen any of these. So
they haven't seen it. Well, do you want to start with the Wolverine one then?
Okay.
All right.
I'm interested to see if we have any that overlap too.
Yeah. One of the first ones that came to mind was the Frank Miller miniseries for Wolverine #1, where he's got the
that was your first one.
Was that one yours?
That was his first one. Yeah.
First one.
Okay. Well, he's got the claws up and he's like, "Come here," he's got the figure. That's exactly a great example of that character interaction. You've not only that. I think when I was a kid, that was the first time that not only did a character straight up engage the viewer, but challenged me. I dare you to open this book. I dare you. And that I felt intimidated by 22 pages. Like, what do? I read it. I'm not shrinking down from this. I'm not shrinking from a challenge, so I'm going to read it. And that image has been parodied and done and overdone and redone and legally and illegally. I mean, it's been sold a million times. When people will send me blank covers and they'll say, I want a sketch of this character, but I want it to look like the cover of Wolverine #1. I can respect that because that was one of the covers when I was a kid where I was just so mind blown. Holy crap, this fictional character that's in 2 dimensions just picked a fight with me. And I want to win, so I'm going to read comics.
That's awesome.
It was just wild off the wall. So that cover, as an epic, it's so close and intimate and in your face. It's not screaming from the mountaintop, Frank Frazetta epic. but if you've ever been in a fight, that's pretty epic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a great just description of that cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I remember seeing it, I was like, oh, yeah, he wants some. Come on.
I tell you,
Come on.
one of the things that I loved about that cover was because I was like, okay, he's showing me how the coolest, baddest dude on the planet picks a fight.
Yeah.
If you want to be him, you're like, yeah, come here.
No surprises. There's no surprises. The claws are out. He's like, here it is. Come and get it. What does he say? Come and get it, bub?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
All I remember thinking was, okay, take notes. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
If a guy wants any trouble, you look at him, you hold up. Okay, maybe your 3 fingers. I don't know. And then you wave them on. This and that, you know.
Remember being a kid? I mean, you would, like, if you had duct tape, you would, like, jam spoons and forks and everything. Pencils between the fingers.
He's bringing out the spork.
Yeah.
Dude, I do that now. That's Friday nights.
Dude, you scared your son with this.
Oh, I did, man. Oh, I love you, Connor. Sorry, I'm not a freak.
He is Wolverine, and you will be one day too.
For those of you, this is your first time hearing this. My little boy, I told him when he was, like 4 and 5 that I was Wolverine. And
That's messed up.
I was just silent because I'm Wolverine. He goes, really? Really? Yeah. And I said, he goes, well, show me your claws. I said, I can't, man. I can't. You're too young. No, come on. Show me
Your
that.
mom will kill me.
Your mom will
I
kill
promised her I would never.
So he wasn't letting it go, and I was like, okay, after the first joke, I thought that would be done for now, but he didn't. And then I kept selling it, and then I couldn't sell it because I looked like a liar. I'm like, oh my gosh, well, he'll just get old enough. And my wife kept saying, you have got to tell him. I was like, I'm not telling him that.
That's when you bust out the go ask your mother, and then she'll say, no, it's too dangerous. Like, now it's not on you anymore.
It's not on. Yeah. Well, what I did is I said, look, when you're 7, I'll show them to you. He goes, really? I said, yeah, when you're 7. So he is counting the days. Well, 7, it's his birthday, and one comes out, one of the X-Men movies. I can't remember which one we were watching, but Friday night, guys' night, me and my son watching the movie. And what I had done is I'd gone to Happy's Flea Market in Roanoke and bought a pair of those claws that you grab to make it look real. And I was like, that's the closest I could do on quick, call.
You got to do it subtle, like when you're making dinner and chopping carrots. And just let him walk in the room and see that.
I should have had you here to tell me that before.
Yes. The child almost commits suicide.
We're riding down the road, the movie's over, and I'm so excited. I planned it. I was like, this is a great time to break the claws out on.
Driving down the road.
We're driving, we're talking.
Don't tell your mom.
And I said, it's time. He goes, oh, I was like, no, you're 7. We saw the X-Men movie. It's time to show you my claws. And he goes, really? I was like, yeah, man, really. And I put him behind the seat. So I'm reaching behind the seat. And I pulled him up beside me so he still wasn't looking. It was dark out. I was like, you ready? He goes, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I popped the lights on and flashed the claws up like real quick. And I didn't get the reaction I was looking for. His eyes got as big as dinner plates, focused on me with he goes, you're a freak. And we're going down the road, and he's in a seatbelt, but I see him starting to look at the door like he's going to open it, going down 460, jumping out at 60 miles an hour. I'm like, he starts to open the door. I'm like, Connor, no, don't stop. And I said, it's a joke. And he's not buying that it's a joke.
So at 7 years old, he's for the Mutant Registration Act.
I said, it was just a gag, man. It's a gag. I got it at the flea market, and I showed it to him. He let me, you're like, okay, Dad, whatever. Hurry up and get home. I need to go upstairs.
He's Googling Tolliver Trask right now.
Man, I'm telling you, the next day he was flying, but I remember thinking, that should have been awesome. It did. I should have cut the carrots. I
I told him, he was like, you should have said, and that's what's going to happen to you.
Oh, no.
You're going to get those too.
After that, man, I was nothing but hugs and sorries and I love you. So
let's talk about Santa and that reality.
Oh,
that's going to be a fun. That's going to be a fun conversation.
Now, what about you? You got a cover?
Sure. I'll go with that X-Men #1 Jim Lee's cover where he had the 4 variants.
Yeah, which one?
The whole thing lined up. They're all facing right. Magneto's in his bubble on the far right.
Excellent choice.
I love that.
That was on my list, thinking I might grab onto that. And I said, I guarantee you, my boy's gonna pull it out.
PG's definitely pulling that one out.
And it's been redone. I think they actually redid that shot in the X-Men '92 recently.
They did that shot. I think go back about 3 or 4 years. They re-released the book itself with a completely
different
digital.
colors.
Yeah, they did the coloring over from scratch. instead of using Doc Martin dyes the way they were back in the day. They did a whole. It looks so good.
It is, and they call it like an adamantium version.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's so.
All it is the same book, but they colored the whole book. They didn't do just the colors for the cover. They did the whole book.
Oh, did they?
It looks amazing.
Did not.
If I find myself in here again, remind me. I'll bring it in.
Cool.
Awesome.
If it's an X-Men thing, I probably have.
Yeah.
That's my baby is X-Men stuff.
Oh, dude.
Man.
That's why my first one was Wolverine #1. It had to be.
All three of y'all sicking me right now.
The DC over here.
It's okay. It took me a long time,
he's-
but I found I had an epiphany, and I've discovered when people say, "What's the real difference between Marvel and DC?"
All right, lay it on me.
There is a real difference. It doesn't always come through in cover, so this is an aside. In the Marvel Universe, when Spider-Man talks to Captain America, Spider-Man is talking to Captain America.
Mhm.
In the DC Universe, when Superman is talking to Batman, Clark is typically talking to Bruce.
Ooh.
And they use those names.
Yeah, they do.
The Marvel Universe has so centrated.
Century Head, yeah.
I don't care. It has centered itself on
I'm
the
Googling
fantasy
that later.
aspect.
You're the drawer.
It doesn't mean I'm the writerist. I mean, the wordiest or whatever. But the Marvel Universe has done an incredible job over the years of creating that fantasy world where the heroes are the heroes.
Mm.
Peter Parker is the alter ego. He's Spider-Man all day, every day, baby, and then he's Peter Parker in his free time. Whereas
When
in
he
the
gets a
DC,
chance.
when he gets a chance. Whereas in the DC universe, Clark is Clark all day long until he has to be Superman.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of whose style of writing is going to focus on which side of the alter ego. And
That's great.
DC has kind of nailed down the realistic side where somebody has to go be a hero from time to time.
Right.
And that's why I love reading their stories in hardcover form, because I can't stop it. I've got to get that complete story.
Mm.
Whereas I love reading the Marvel stuff because it's so perfect for serialized consumption.
Right.
I want to see Spider-Man. Okay, he's Peter Parker. All right, we'll get through that part.
Yes,
Now he's back to being Spider-Man again. So that to me is the difference between a Marvel and a DC.
Now, with that said, you better bring some thunder with your DC. What do you got tonight?
Well, it's your turn.
No, I didn't. I jumped on the bandwagon for #1 Wolverine.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Nobody said he couldn't.
Yeah.
I think I just now did.
Amazing. Podcast coming out soon.
Well, and he's gonna have exactly one viewer, and that'll be me.
With thumbs down.
Man, I've got so many. I'm gonna start off with.
You seriously have a notebook? I'm looking at a notebook.
No, actually, my notebook. I'm actually writing down the stuff that we're doing.
Oh.
So when I do the editing on the podcast, I can put the images in
I
with
would
it.
have been way more impressed if you had said, "Yeah, I've got this whole book."
I've got this whole book done.
Seduction of Innocence.
Yes.
That will always come up when I'm in the room.
I'm starting out with the Killing Joke.
Yeah.
So I love that
Great
cover.
cover.
See, that's that interaction. That's the come get it bump.
Yeah,
That's right up in
yeah.
your face.
He's got that camera turned so we see half the Joker's face.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's daring
Love
right
it.
there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Brian Bolland, he tapped into that primal, here it is. Here it is.
Dude, I love that picture.
This is it.
Great cover.
I mean, and the story too, along with it, just so awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite panels is actually in that book as well.
One of the web rumors now, and maybe it's something that's not even a rumor. Maybe it's legit. I don't know, but maybe Warner Brothers said okay to a rated R animated movie.
Whoa.
That's a ballsy statement, but like I said, web rumor. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. If
It's
that's
on the internet. It must be true.
Of course, and like I said, those same guys are yelling at their laptops right now. Of course, it's true, you idiot. I don't know.
Resources.
I don't know.
It must be true.
I get my headlines from Facebook. What?
Yeah, Josh Wilding.
Did you see Leno redid that cover? He did like a photo of it.
No.
You know what?
I did see that. I did see
think I
that.
saw that.
Did he have the flowery shirt on too? The Hawaiian shirt?
Yeah.
Dude, and he looked really skinny.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? I mean, because he looked like malnourished.
That's the Joker cosplay that I love. When somebody takes a moment from Joker's existence, not just your typical
Not
Joker,
just the Joker.
but when you see a guy at the con and he's got a Hawaiian shirt and he's got shorts on and he's got a camera.
He's got the hat.
And a hat and a gun, and it's like, this is such a great moment in cosplay, and like most of this room just isn't going to get it.
Yeah, and I'll miss it.
Love that comic. Love it.
All right, next one. What do you got?
I went DC for my next one. You're
See,
welcome.
but let me just say this. I asked him which one did he like better, Marvel or DC, and he said he liked both.
I do, but for different reasons, and now I've explained my reasoning.
That's more of a nod to DC. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Well, let me solidify my little epiphany about what makes a Marvel and a DC. When I mentioned Wolverine was in your face.
Yeah.
And there's no mistaking that Wolverine is in your face. So when I chose Batman number 404, it's the Year One Part 1.
I love that.
This,
I have that
cover.
comic. Awesome.
Oh yeah.
This is a very real, very human Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Dealing.
Iconic moment,
that's the one that's, again, it's been done to death. It's been done over and over and over, and it's been parodied, and it's been copied, and it's been redone. But at the same time, this is that human moment. The camera's pulled out a little bit, but the emotion is just so completely there. It's a horrible, horrible thing to even consider. Like, if you could put yourself in that position, you don't want to.
Yeah.
You really don't want to. But the camera angle, the way that it's been done, the way that Bruce's face has been shadowed pretty much from the nose down, hints of an eye, no tears. There's pure shock happening here.
Mm-hmm.
And grief. I mean, just
grief.
Pain, yeah.
And blood is minimal. Minimal.
Yeah.
This is not a gory thing happening. This is an incredibly intimate and painful thing happening. And it, again, that thing where you can look at it, you know what's happening in the book. You know, but you don't have to read it because it's all right there. Yeah. All the content of that book is wrapped up in this one cover. And again, that kind of plays to the difference between a DC and a Marvel. You've got your really play up the fantasy aspect, or do you want to play up the human side? And DC nails the human side every time. That's not to say Marvel can't. It's just that's not their wheelhouse. And it doesn't have to be because they do their own thing. But this cover has always been probably one of the most real, most human things I've ever seen.
I mean, that comic right there, I bought not too long ago just for that cover.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's
not easy
about,
to find
about 2-3 months ago. Yeah.
It's not easy to find in good shape either because
I bought it from Chris at Untamed Worlds.
Well, Untamed Worlds has everything.
Chris is loaded.
His inventory is well managed. I'll say that. Every time I've been looking for an old X-Men, he'll go to a private sale or an auction or something and say, "Hey, I've got the next 10 or 15 things on your list." He always has exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love the fact that the picture there it captures that moment where Batman or Bruce, where he changed.
Yeah, and that's in the logo. If you look at the logo design, this is probably just me reading too deep into the thing, but at that time, the huge bat was always reaching out over the logo anyway.
Right.
But with the coloring and how dark it is, the bat's almost invisible at the top, and you can just barely make out the shape of the wing, and everything's just sort of pointing at the top of Bruce's head. And then it comes down to something brighter. But it's one of those classic covers.
Yes.
Maybe it's not Silver Age, maybe it's not from the 50s, and maybe it's not Action Comics #1. But
which is one I was going to actually bring up later too.
Go for it. I mean, but when you ask a Batman fan which cover, what are the pivotal moments? This is the pivotal moment.
That is the moment.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the story has been done to death. But speaking for me, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Because so many times you get another writer to maybe take a different angle, a different piece that they'll add, or something that they'll omit and or shift, and I love it. I love it. Before I was like, oh man, I read this story. I don't feel that way. I'm like, okay, tell me what you got. Show me your stuff, man. Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
Man, love it. That's an awesome cover. What do you got, JP?
Well, you just talked about seeing what was going to be in the book on the cover, and you get the full story from the cover as a positive thing, but I kind of take this one as a negative, but I still love the cover. But it was Batman 497, The Breaking of the Bat.
Oh yeah.
I kind of don't dig that they show him breaking the bat right on the cover before you read it in the book.
You know what? I thought that too. I was like, okay, spoiler.
Yeah.
Well, why would you show me that? That's the money.
And Batman's coming to his house.
That's
to do
like
some stuff.
You think that would be the splash page on the second to last page of the book?
That's the big, oh yeah. To me, it should have been a face-off, right?
Yeah.
Look, I won.
But yeah, that's another iconic moment in Batman's history. The time he fell.
Dude, great stuff. I wasn't real keen on that art for the whole Nightfall series. And just for whatever reason, I didn't really connect with it. A lot of it came off as probably the wrong guy for the job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the picture itself, I remember that cover being powerful.
Yeah.
You know, I had the same thought you did. It's like, do I really need that? That's what I don't want to see.
Yeah, that moment of impact kind of gives it away.
Lost it.
Maybe give it the 1 minute before. You know, for a cover like that, have Bane holding him up.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be great.
The chance of getting away.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, hey, it might be round 1. You know, there's 2 and 3 inside.
Yeah, because just holding him up, just waiting for the thing to drop.
Because when it actually happens in the book, it's kind of underwhelming because it doesn't have that full bend like you see on the cover.
Yeah.
Don't you hate that? I've seen that kind of stuff before. I'm like, dude, you got this backwards. It should have been.
I didn't like that in Dark Knight Rises either when he actually did it. It was just like a knee and his
back. Yeah. They just hang him out and, that back will heal and he can get right on out of there.
That's all I did. Then Lazarus Pit, good to go.
You're good to go. All right.
Troy.
One of my favorite artists, rest in peace, Michael Turner.
Oh, yeah.
Civil War, #1, and it is the,
that group shot, that variant cover. Yeah.
Oh, I just absolutely loved it. It had Captain America. You could tell, okay, the weight of the world is on his shoulders right now. And everybody else, they're playing into it. They're going to take and, have to deal with the question, that they're being asked, and they got to choose sides. And it's like, which I think they did so good just in that, the upcoming movie. And it said, hey, sorry, Tony, but he's my friend. He's like, we were friends too. I was like, oh man,
it's a bromance.
That's a bromance.
That cover, I mean, that cover for those people who know, it probably popped into their heads right away. But for those who don't, I hope you will Google it. Take that cover in, let it sink in, kind of make it part of your own little mental lexicon, because the real power, as a testament to what Michael did. Think about how many times at a convention you'll see some sort of wannabe or digiclown swipe the art from that cover and try and sell it.
And try to make it his.
Right. He has been swiped and copied and stolen from more than anybody alive. I'm willing to say more than anybody that I can think of.
Wow.
But that cover specifically.
Yeah.
The Captain America, just the grief hanging on his shoulders.
Yeah.
That's the power of an image like that.
And it's not X-Men, it's not Avengers, it's Marvel.
It's Marvel.
It's everybody. Everybody's on there. I mean, what is that, Namor in the corner over there?
Yes, you got Namor. I mean, you've even got
Mr. Fantastic is chilling in there.
What is it, Yellow Jacket? And I mean, just all of these. She-Hulk is on the thing.
I'd never seen that version of this comic.
I've got this.
I'd only seen the regular one where he's got this split white bottom and then the arm on top.
Yeah.
That's the one I've got. Yeah.
Well, I remember.
Well, this was a variant.
This
was a variant for a collection. Yeah.
And I remember looking at a bunch of the stuff that Michael Turner had done for Civil War, and I mean, to me, I'm such a fan of his.
It was all home runs.
They were all home runs. I was like, wow, this is the moment. And I took and I got this one as a poster. Like when you go down into the man cave, and the landing, that's what's on the wall directly in front of you.
That's awesome.
I love that picture. In fact, I've gotten so many different, pieces on the wall that I'm thinking about rotating them. Because
Civil War.
that is
that's from
Civil War from his
Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
Winter Soldier. I mean, it almost looks pose for pose the exact same thing.
It's funny too because when they did that, that's kind of what I think they were trying to bring out was this moment.
Yeah.
And dude, I love that. Michael Turner can do so many fantastic things, and I rarely will find something that I'm not just a huge fan of.
That's an awesome image. That I'm just looking at that. It's just a phenomenal image.
That's one of my favorites, hands down.
I mean, that right there, like I said, you could just put that on the wall, and like you did. It's just phenomenal. That's the kind of thing I have to look at. Oh, just
in fact,
chills.
I did this too. I do decorative concrete, and one of the things I did is I used this as kind of an idea that I engraved into the concrete floor.
Mm-hmm.
Where at the landing, instead of having like a compass rose or something like that, I have Captain America's shield with Cap going out one side, Wolverine going out the other. The Thing, Ben Grimm is on, the top of the shield, and Spidey coming out of the wall. And it's engraved into my concrete floor and colored up. And this was what I was looking for. What do I want? I want something. I was like, dude, that's it.
Yeah.
And that shield, that's my focal point.
That's awesome.
Dude, even the flames coming out, I was like, Michael, this, like you said, he's been ripped off by everybody.
Yeah.
On my concrete floor, I was like.
To this day, you can go on eBay and find supposedly sketches the originals of that. People trying to sell it because they'll just be making Xerox copies of his work, saying, "Oh yeah, it's signed by him. This is one of his originals," and blah blah blah.
Oh man.
No,
Nah.
nope,
Not his.
nope. If it's really his, you know his the second you see it.
No, dude. Love his stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, rest in peace, my friend. What do you got, Dee?
Well, I'm going a little bit different, I reckon, with this one because everybody thinks, I love my Harley Quinn, but I'm saving her for later. But this one, I'm going Muhammad Ali versus Superman.
There it is. What was it, 1971?
It's a
2?
Old, yeah.
And that's a comic that I've actually wanted to buy recently. I'm going to find it eventually.
Well, that's magazine size.
Yeah, it's huge. And one thing I like about it is on the inside cover, it tells you all the people in the audience. A bunch of celebrities and stuff. You got like Sonny Bono,
It's the Cannonball
Cher.
Run.
It is.
You got like Bruce Wayne down in front.
Chocolates. Every head has like a number in it.
Yeah,
Dude, that's
yeah.
awesome.
It is all. It goes front to back on both sides of it, and it is phenomenal.
Now, where's the first place you ever saw that as an ad inside of a comic book, right?
I don't remember the first time I actually saw that, but that sounds like potential.
When I was young,
It probably was. I was
was
young
there.
enough to see it
Mm-hmm.
in something else and think, well, this wasn't really a comic. This is just a commercial
this
for.
is a commercial, right?
Yeah.
Well, and they had those kind of moments where you had Superman versus Spider-Man. Remember that one?
The crane.
The crane.
Yeah.
And all of these, the Superman versus the Flash, there were all these like one shot. Usually they were the magazine size things, but I remember that one with Ali. I was like, no, look, Ali's bad, but that's Superman. Right?
Yeah.
Who thought that fight? And Ali, what are you thinking?
Like, man, I love that. And Muhammad is.
He's thinking he's the prettiest.
I'm
Like,
so bad I make medicines.
And Muhammad, for those who don't know, he's really sick right now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
was it Parkinson's disease?
Yeah, he's had Parkinson's for a long time. They said he was just recently put in the hospital, and they may not know how much longer he might have. He's up in his 70s now, I think. Like, man.
Oh, man.
I might have to buy that a
Wow,
little bit
thanks,
quicker.
man. You just took a
Tommy
dump
Guns.
on the whole room there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this one time at Vancouver.
Because there haven't been enough dead celebrities in the news lately.
Isn't that true? Isn't that true?
Oh. Well, that's okay. The one thing about that is that, my son was asking, he goes, man, everybody's, it seems like we're always hearing about it. It's like, dude, you're not hearing about half of it.
Yeah.
And just remember, none of us are getting out of this thing called life alive, so this is their moment.
That's why Jim Morrison said it.
Dude, right?
No one gets out of here alive.
No one's getting out of here alive.
Death and taxes.
What do you got? What's your next one?
My next one, okay, I went straight up artsy for this one. Peter Parker's The Spectacular Spider-Man number 101.
That's beautiful.
You know,
that one.
you do?
I
Yeah.
know.
From a distance, you'd swear it was a crossword puzzle. But John Byrne went silly with the lost line theory. Now, for people listening, Google Spectacular Spider-Man number 101. Spidey in the black suit, upside down, what Maverick and Goose would call inverted. Basically flying through the whole city, all black and white, but no holding lines on the figure. All right, everything's being done with the windows. Some of them are lit, some of them are not. And what you get is reflected light off of the white parts of Spidey, bottoms of his feet, and the rest of his body disappears into the cityscape. And this is the kind of thing that I was mentioning earlier, where in a wall full of new stuff on a Wednesday, this thing jumps out.
Yeah.
It is the least colorful thing on the planet. I'm serious. It looks like a crossword puzzle.
Right?
That hasn't been done yet.
It's still magic.
And it's still awesome.
Yeah.
And just as a piece of art, it works from every angle.
Oh.
It doesn't matter. Turn it upside down.
Oh, yeah.
The composition is still right on.
Mm-hmm.
You use the golden mean and look for that rectangle, that golden mean rectangle, and whatever angle it's at, either his head or his foot or his hand or some focal point, is going to be exactly in the corner that it needs to be in. So this thing works from every
That's
angle.
awesome.
That is.
There's no such thing as a perfect piece, but mathematically, this one's damn close.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's phenomenal.
Real close.
Girls Before Swine. A lot of that was lost on me just now.
Well, I mean, look at the windows. Everything is right on. The perspective on the buildings, which can be confusing because it is just black and white with no holding lines. It is just white squares and black masses. That's all it is. But it still works. I can't... Byrne was great. He still is. I mean,
Yeah.
Byrne's the man for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And this is one of those reasons that kind of gets swept away because his storytelling is always so on point.
Yeah.
And he had this knack all through the 80s of reinventing all that stuff that we thought we knew everything about until John Byrne came along.
Yeah.
And there are some detractors going to be like, John Byrne sucks. Fine. Screw you guys. I'm right. You're wrong.
That is correct.
He changed the game for a lot of reasons. You don't have to appreciate him. But he did. And this is one of those covers where you look at it like, well, damn it, he just changed it again.
Oh, man.
He brought it back to so basic.
And I would not
That is
have
fun. That's
known
amazing.
that was one of his pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I remember, I loved his stuff like with Alpha Flight and Fantastic
He wasn't known for
Four.
Spidey.
Right.
Yeah.
And even that style doesn't scream out to me like that. To know that, I was like, dude, that's talent.
It's awesome. It's just I'm looking at it upside down, and I'm still enjoying looking at it
Mhm.
because of the way that it's laid out.
Yeah, that's
So.
good stuff. Dude, and that was a great time. I remember that was probably in my heyday of collecting.
This was a wonderful time for comics.
That was
86 to 88.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You could do no wrong.
Dude, everything coming out was gold. I was just like, that's good, that's good. I got to do that.
Yeah, every publisher was nailing it.
Yeah, it was good stuff. What you got?
One I love. I think it was a 4-issue set. It was just kind of gimmicky, but it was like right when I was a teenager and collecting comics, and these were like the coolest things. Remember the Fleer cards, little character cards?
Mhm.
I still have them all. I got a closet full of them.
You can get your hands on like a gold, one of the hologram ones.
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
what it is. So the Onslaught run, that was like the 4 issues that had the hologram characters.
I remember
on
that.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love those comics.
Is that Fatal Attractions?
Yeah, Fatal Attraction. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And it was Cable, Wolverine, Gambit, and Nightcrawler were the holograms. Those things blew my mind when
They
they
did
came
me
out.
too.
They were sculpted wax. And then there was a photo. They took a photo of it was a wax sculpture,
Right.
and then they would take a photo of the sculpture, and then they would put it under a layer of like cellophane or acetone or something like that, and then they would take a photo of that, and then they would put
that's
foil
cool.
on top of that, and then they would take the photos and press them down, and then they would take a photo of that. It was like this layered thing, and then by the time you were done, it just looked like because they had photos of the wax sculpture from like 5 or 6 different angles. That's how you got the hologram effect.
That is unreal.
That I thought was like no wonder we're in space. Like I thought that was just and replicators are next. Like that was when you're 12 years old.
Yeah.
That's the jump.
When I saw those
You know?
things, a hologram, I remember thinking, this is what idiocracy feels like. I was like, it has electrolytes.
Well, those holograms are what Matt craves.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Those
just couldn't
gimmicks
figure
when I
it
was a
out.
kid, that's what Matt craves.
Yeah,
So it worked on me, and I thought Thunderstrike #1 was brilliant because of it. I've learned since then, publishers, it's okay. I'm fine now.
Well, and there was a time, right around that time, where that was such a heavy thing that all of them were pushing. They were trying to do anything like a foil cover, a hologram cover, you know. And I remember being a collector at the time. I was like, man, I'm gonna go broke if I buy into every one of these. So I pick and choose the ones I wanted during that time because it seemed like every regular issue had a gold foil variant, and I was like, okay,
But those Fatal Attractions ones, that X-Men run, even that year when you're creeping into the 90s and everything was gimmicky, there were artists who were coming into their own visually. Before that, you could count on an Andy or an Adam Kubert to kind of just look like Dad. But once they hit their X-Men runs, they turned into themselves, and you could see very different styles. And I think Andy's Gambit got used for that hologram. Greg Capullo, who's crushing it on Batman, but was before that known for Spawn. He was the X-Force guy at the time, and he was the guy who took X-Force away from the Jim Lee and the Rob Liefeld kind of era and made it the Greg Capullo era. I was reading X-Force because of him. Because his art was starting to look like his.
Yeah, not like Tom McFarlane has left the book and let's see what we can kind of do with
Replace it with a Todd wannabe.
Yeah. Which is kind of what I thought. Did you feel like that?
On
Greg Capullo's stuff when
at the time
Todd left?
Well, at the time, I mean, was Todd on it or was Liefeld?
On Spawn?
Oh, on Spawn. Oh, okay. Well, see, for every character when it's done a certain way and it's been a commercial success a certain way, you kind of need to be a chameleon to fit that bill. Yeah. But Greg took it in his own direction. I think he had that chance with the Sam and Twitch miniseries.
Yeah.
That's when Greg got to be Greg.
Yeah.
And he did such a great job that he can do any book he wants now and he gets to be himself. But
I love what he's doing on Batman right now.
I've been in positions where they well, can you draw like this? Yes, I can. Okay, then you can have work. all right, well then I'm happy to have work. So
Yeah.
that moment, like for the Fatal Attraction series, all the artists involved there had that great opportunity to say, well, this is my voice. You know, I've been working on these characters this way, but I'd really like a chance to do it this way. And Fatal Attractions was so great. Those covers, even though the hologram was there, if you take those holograms off, those covers are still really striking images.
See, I
Really
never
striking.
tried taking them off because I was afraid of, like, I'm going to rip the book.
Oh, you will
Yeah,
rip the book.
yeah.
You will.
But I remember just staring at those things and going, how in the world?
Well, was it
Electrolyte?
It was either Wolverine or X-Men number 25
Electrolytes.
was the one. It's got the Gambit cover, but the actual image itself is Wolverine it's Magneto standing over Wolverine's just destroyed body.
Yeah.
That's that moment where it's like the dude who said, "Come here, bub, come get it, bub."
He's getting it.
He just got it.
Yeah.
You know.
Panels for next time. Yeah.
That, I remember I hated that panel because I was like, no! That emitted a powerful emotional response.
There you go.
Dude, which is what it was supposed
What
to
it's
do.
all about.
That's right. All right. Mine, I remember, this was one of the first time I remember being a younger kid and reading this book. I had one of the Batmans. It's Batman Limited Collector Edition. And it's number, let me see if I can turn it sideways, number C51. It's a Neil Adams cover.
Oh yeah.
And this is one of the ones that is big like a magazine. But this is the first time that I ever remember Batman being taken to task by somebody who wasn't from Krypton, type of, powerful. It's like, all right, who is this guy, Ra's al Ghul? And okay, his daughter's the most beautiful woman ever drawn in comics. And Robin's dead, and Batman is, looking destroyed.
Yeah,
you know?
screaming.
And when I saw that, this is, like I said, it wasn't a comic book size thing. This was like one of the big oversized books. And I remember reading that thing, and being a kid, I could not stop. I was like, no. I'm going to go find, somewhere in the house where no one's going to bother me, and that's what I'm doing. It's like a rain day or something. It was a Saturday. And that was like the best Saturday rain day material I could have had.
Neil Adams was another one like Burnout. Like he was one of those game changers.
That's because I always say that, and he goes, oh, yeah, Neil Adams.
No. Here's we were talking about this earlier before you guys come up.
we were talking Neil. He's one of those guys, and, there was a time in his career where he was specifically given books that were failing just so he could save them.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
the way he did Batman is my favorite Batman.
Yeah, you could argue that he saved X-Men. X-Men was on the chopping block by Marvel until, what was it, 168? It was early. Maybe it was.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's pretty early.
Yeah, but he kind of walks in the office and,
I'm here.
which one needs help? Okay, I'll fix it.
Wow.
And then drops the mic and then rebuilds X-Men.
Josh, he changed your life.
Changed.
And you didn't even know.
That's who they need to bring back Fantastic Four with. Bring the yell on. Hey, any update on where that's at right now?
What, Fantastic Four?
Yeah, the book, because I know they discontinued it before the movie and stuff.
Fox Legal Purgatory.
Yeah.
I feel...
I mean the book, not the movie.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I feel bad. Fox and Marvel worked great together when it was Fox and Marvel, and then I'm not bashing anyone for making business decisions. Good business is good business. But Fox always knew that they had the legal upper hand on a company like a publisher like Marvel, right up until Disney flipped the bill. As soon as Disney bought them, now Fox has legal competition, and now it's time to batten down the hatches because there's going to be a fight over who owns what. Because you don't mess with the mouse.
Right.
Yeah, exactly right.
Seriously, you don't mess with the mouse.
He actually talked to me this one time.
As soon as Disney touches anything, it's theirs. Except Fox already signed, well, no, this is ours. Those rights were sold to us, 10 years ago to keep Marvel out of bankruptcy.
Yep.
We had a great relationship with them. Well, now there's a fight. Do you remember all the action figures and the posters and the lunchboxes and T-shirts from X-Men 1 and X-Men 2 and X-Men 3? Remember all that?
Right.
Yep.
Right. Do you remember any action figures from the X-Men movies after Disney bought them?
Dude.
No.
None.
No.
I
Because it's a marketing giant. But see, Fox has the movie licensing rights, whereas Disney, by proxy through Marvel, retains the publishing rights. So there's this constant battle over who owns what part of the property.
Yeah.
So certain things can't be done, but certain things can be done. And if you're reading X-Men, you're seeing a lot of characters you never heard of. And then Fantastic Four is gone and we don't know why. And Wolverine is gone and we don't know why. And these are just like, why are the stories going this way? Well, because there's a legal fight over who's going to own what. And when the year 2016, 17, 18, when that year comes around to relicense everything Who's going to own it? Well, if Marvel hasn't used it for this amount of time, the rights go to them, and if Fox hasn't used it for this amount of time, then the rights go back to Marvel. Like they have to fight this fight, and so regardless of winning, who's winning, like fans are winning and losing at the same time.
Yeah,
We're losing because we want our heroes back.
Yep.
And as an artist, I'm still a fan. You can't be an artist and not be a fan.
That's
You just can't. But to a certain extent, we're also winning. Like now is kind of a new golden era in comics. This is when the publishers have kind of taken the leashes off and say, you know what, you're creators. Create. Do it. Show us something new that we've never seen. Blow our minds. And it's happening.
Oh, it is.
It's totally happening. But it doesn't, like the scab's not forming. Like, we still want our heroes back. So,
Yep.
I'm so ready for it to be.
I probably just committed career suicide right here.
Dude,
On your show.
Yeah,
You
Congratulations.
just got to remember this. It's like 8 people listen to it,
not only that,
and 3 of them are right here.
we're gonna make that the Blu-ray edition that's edited out.
That's right.
So if you just remember us talking about Batman, that's where we left off.
Don't tell Disney.
I'll tell you what, Deadpool changes things for Fox though, because they just proved that they can make a great superhero movie.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of that wouldn't have gone through unless some lawyers in a secret room somewhere hadn't said okay first.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, for sure.
Well, they even had one of
secret.
the characters. If you remember, he was having that talk on top of the helicarrier in the battle at the end with that guy that he knew from the past.
Yeah.
That's Hydra Bob.
Yeah,
Hydra
Completely
Bob.
unlicensed, unowned. Like, that's the only real. I've been loving watching fans blowing up about, can you believe this and can you believe that?
Yeah.
It's the first Marvel rated R movie. And I'm like, yeah, you totally forgot about Blade and you forgot about all these other ones. That's fine. You can forget that. But Hydra Bob needs to be the real eyebrow raiser here because he was an unlicensed character by Fox.
And it's like, wait a minute.
But they never
That's
said
not
that.
yours.
They never said that.
Yeah, they just said Bob. They didn't say Hydra. They just said Bob.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone who reads Deadpool,
You knew.
your jeans got a little tighter. You're so happy. You're like, did you seriously just put Hydra Bob in a freaking movie?
Yeah.
It was such a moment. I was like, how did that fly? Did that? Must be some legal stuff that we didn't know about.
As long as you just say Bob and don't put a Hydra symbol on him,
He's anybody.
He's anybody.
Yeah,
anybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But from the interviews I've seen, Reynolds is no slouch on the Deadpool knowledge. He's a good boy.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good boy.
Oh, dude. He is Deadpool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Did you see him interview Hugh Jackman?
I saw that it was out there, but I didn't
It's
see
the
it.
3 best minutes of your day.
Dude, I can't
I'll have
wait.
to look that up.
I was looking forward to that
You
tonight.
haven't seen anything?
I have not seen that.
When did it come out? Yesterday or this
Yeah,
morning?
Hugh Jackman was doing junkets for Eddie the Eagle.
Oh, which I can't wait to see.
And-
That looks fun.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds sat down to interview him for Eddie the Eagle. He hasn't even seen it. He didn't care. He's asking some. Just watch it.
Oh, I can't wait. That's good.
Eddie the Eagle.
What do you got? D.
I'm going up, man.
Why do you always sound like you're sorry?
Because here's the thing. Here's the
This
thing.
guy's stuff is awesome.
Yes, and my stuff
Oh, I got another
sucks.
DC.
This one had a good picture of
I
Batman.
don't know. Yeah, this one's cool because I enjoyed it, and that's why. If you don't like it, shut up. Actually, I'm not. I'm going Incredible Hulk #1.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dude, old
Yes,
school.
and that
Yes.
is, by the way, not DC.
I hear you.
I love that cover. see, he's sitting there's real small. Then there's Hulk behind him.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I love that.
phenomenal
Yeah,
cover.
I love how people will redo that different ways with different artists, and they keep that same exact picture, style. Their style comes into it, and I love that picture. Wow.
See, and it also reminds me of another Marvel. Was it Amazing Spider-Man 50?
Oh, walking away.
Yeah, walking away, and you see like Spider-Man in the background.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of that because that's the issue where he put the suit in the trash can.
Oh, Spider-Man No More?
Yeah,
Okay,
and so you see him walking out.
Funny you should mention that.
That was on my
That's my
There it
panel.
is. Okay.
That's
that is
yeah,
cool.
that's- yeah,
one of the
that-
panels that we can talk about because there's a lot going on in this panel that hit a lot of people who became artists later on.
Yeah.
This is something that touched a lot of things, like a lot of people where it was like, I want to be able to do this someday.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's one of those panels I was like, man, you could put that on the cover or you could just put that on my wall. I don't care which.
Didn't John Byrne do that one too?
That I do not know.
I don't think so, but to be honest,
You know what? I'm about to Google it because I'm not going to be the guy who
Right,
got,
dude.
like 5 things wrong tonight.
Oh, man. That's why I keep everything very vague.
Yeah.
Because my details are sketchy.
All of my opinions are named Bob only, just
Bob.
Bob.
All right. It can be any opinion.
It's not Hydra opinion, it's just Bob.
You got Neil and you got Bob. Or is that what you do?
You know what? You never did
Easy killer.
Right? Look here, guys, man. My 12-year-old's listening to this. What was your? You never told us what book?
I did.
What was it?
Incredible Hulk
Incredible
#1.
Wow, dude, I kept thinking you had a Batman one.
No, that's why I told him. I was like, I went Marvel with this one.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, just like I said, that cover, just oh my goodness, again, amazing.
John Romita.
Dude, John Romita.
I'm an ass.
Senior, not junior.
Bob.
Bob. Bob.
Just give me a minute, will you? I can only Google with so
I think
much.
that was senior.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive.
I would think
That's an
senior.
old
Yeah,
one. That was in the
yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
I think I remember reading that book as a kid and just being ticked off. I was like, whoa. No more Spider-Man, you're walking away? We need to talk, Pete.
Yeah.
Here's a
Yeah.
good example of what you were just talking about. So there's the actual cover.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then here's the Joe Jusko
Yes.
when he repainted it. And there's so much more depth to it.
Dude.
Jusko's one of my 5 top influences. So he could paint like a still life of a road cone and toilet paper. I'll be like, this is I gotta hang this up. I need this road cone and toilet paper.
Can you
in my
make
life.
a plate of fruit for me? That'd be great.
You remember when he used to do all the old Wizard covers?
Oh,
Joe
we talked
Jusko?
about that
He
earlier.
did a handful of them. Yeah, that's for
That's what I
sure.
used to love when he would come on. I was like, oh yeah, this is something, man.
He did a. I don't
When
collect.
the X-Men movie came out, the first one with Bryan Singer, he
Yeah.
did a lot of the characters, and I was like,
Yeah, he. I have one of those production prints of
Do you
Sabretooth.
really?
that
dude, good stuff right there.
he- yeah.
All right, what's your next book?
Oh, it's my turn. Okay, so from
Yeah.
here on out.
Mine was so important, y'all just glossed right past it.
I love
All right, so from here on out, I kind of went to my happy place
Oh,
for.
yes. I've
for
seen some of these that he's talking
Now
about.
this is what he had told me. I was like, I hope he brings in, either the thing or a picture.
Well,
The book or a picture.
most of these books, if I had them, they would never leave the house. Hands down, the most important cover to me
I have seen this.
ever, Crime Suspense Stories number 22. And that one a lot of people are going to have to Google. Because
Mhm.
this was one of the covers that Fred Wortham physically brought before Congress and said, see what comics are doing to our kids?
Wow, man.
That is one that you don't want them bringing to Congress.
This to me says everything that you need about what makes a cover successful. It's worth as much as it's worth because of its historical value. Because as far as the series goes, there's nothing really like, it's like Tales from the Crypt. There's little episodes.
Yeah.
But because this changed comics forever, the Comics Code Authority was kind of this cover was the mortar that would later form the stone of the Comics Code Authority.
Wow.
Like, this was one of those biggies that nut job Fred Wortham said is the reason all kids are bad is because of this. Okay, whatever, dick. But this cover itself has everything that I'm.
His name, in fact, was Dick. Richard, for short.
That's right. This one, the striking colors. If I'm looking at a wall full of things, a bright red and white with yellow, like it stands out. This is the name of my book. Here it is.
Awesome.
And then the imagery on the cover: a man holding an axe, holding the severed head of what you might assume is a wife or a girlfriend. I don't know.
Mhm.
Either way, the damsel in distress is, well, no longer in distress, but she's not any better off either. Like, the image tells you exactly, this is what's in this book, this is what you're getting, but it's also emotionally draining almost, because if you look at her eyes, they did that thing with the eyes where it's looking at the golden mean.
Yeah.
So wherever
Yeah.
you walk around the room, it's kind of following you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's really messed up. But for its historical significance, for its simple color balance, and
she's cute.
yeah,
Great gams.
that's right. She's a lovely one. She was a lovely one.
Decapitated as she may be.
And look, it's so indicative of the era too. He's got those great Cary Grant pants up to your belly button. Like, you can just tell.
No fold over.
No, he's wonderful.
Cary Grant pants.
Children, Google that too, because you don't know who Cary Grant is.
Right, but Father Goose is the best thing he ever did. Anyway, this book, it's the most important comic in comics to me, and it's the most influential comic, on me.
Wow.
So in terms of a cover, there are probably much more suitable pieces of art,
Oh, sure.
much more classical, where you can look at it and go, that is art.
Mhm.
But this one, you can pick out in a lineup a million miles away. And this is another one that's been done and done and done and done.
Oh, over and over.
And my favorite parody of this so far, I won't say parody, but the reimagining of it, was Wolverine number.
Yeah, that one.
And Greg Land and Jay Leaston did. It's Wolverine with his claws out, holding Sabretooth's head.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I gotta look that one up. I don't know that one.
And I never collected Wolverine. I read Wolverine, in trade paperbacks, but I never collected Wolverine. But I went out of my way to get that copy so I could get them to sign it.
Nice.
Because it's a remake of this cover.
That's awesome.
I'll find it. Well,
definitely.
Give us your next one. I can't afford this book.
Yeah, right.
I draw comics for a living. I can't afford comics.
It's like I can't buy them.
It's the meanest job ever. They pay you. They'll pay you to make the thing that you can't afford.
You can sit at a table with other guys who can't and both look at the stuff you want, but you got to trade.
It's unfair.
I just wanted to let you know this could be our last round because we had an hour and 10 minutes right now.
All right,
this
But I have 13 more covers. No,
Again,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's literally he kept sending me something. He goes, "All right, this is the last one."
And this is just the covers. We haven't even touched the panels.
Exactly. I mean,
I told you this was a two-parter because
I've got a ton more covers and panel. Well, like 4 panels.
Whatever you name this episode, you have to end it volume 1.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm thinking the next one we'll revisit this in a couple months. Because
and you have to have as the splash page a hologram.
Yes.
Turning our laptop sideways.
All right, what do you got, Josh?
Well, I
wish I could do that. That'd be awesome. Josh, you're the IT man. Fix that for me.
I can appreciate some minimalistic kind of stuff. I won't tell you what this comic is. I bet you guys can guess it right off. All it is a dossier. It's a folder with 3 Wolverine slices going diagonally down the cover.
That's number 50.
Wolverine 50.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just always remember that comic. It's burned in my head. I love that comic. It's just bright yellow with the 3 slashes. You can see the page behind
Like
it.
I said, in a wall full of stuff that stands out.
That thing did stand out. Yeah.
Do you remember too that was one of the best comics because it actually promised and did deliver to answer some of the questions.
Yeah, it did.
You remember that? And I was like thinking to myself, I mean, I was chomping at the bit to buy this when it came out. I was like, I cannot wait. They have said, we're not doing, a Houdini, pull the tablecloth off real quick. We're going to answer some questions about his Pathfinding. I mean...
Do you guys know what year that came out? Because it seems like to me, I remember seeing, I remember getting that. Yeah. I was thinking like around that 93 to 95 is what I'm kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing, I was like, oh, I got to have that.
Oh, yeah. Now, that one right there, when you bought it, oh wow.
Not to derail the conversation. Anyway, keep going. No, keep going. Sorry.
For those of you who didn't see that,
which is
we're going to keep it that way.
But I remember just absolutely loving that book. The way it looked and stuff, and the fact that they delivered. That's a special book in my collection.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, did you have a hard time actually, wanting to not buy 2 copies so that you could read one and save one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I did that. I still have books like that.
Yeah.
That was one that I was like, all right, this one gets bagged and boarded, and I'm not touching. But this one's gonna be,
enjoy it,
dude. Good stuff.
That was awesome.
Now,
It's been done.
this one, because we've got so many different ones to do, we'll say volume 2, but I'm gonna skip ahead just because last week, talking about this. One of our friends in Roanoke, Dennis Hayes,
yes.
had mentioned one of his favorites. And it was so fun because I was already having that one on my list, or that series. It was Silver Age, and it was the Submariner. The Submariner series, which so many of those books just came across like just a really sweet era of art. And I mean, I just looked at it and I was like, that is something that if I see it, to this day, whether I have 1 or 2 copies, I have a hard time not wanting to buy it again. And it is number 6 with a Submariner, and it's him fighting on the cover. We can blow this up for you guys. Oh,
Tiger Shark.
Tiger Shark.
Oh yeah.
And
one of the great villain designs.
Oh,
so
it's a great
simple.
one. Yeah, it's so easy, but boy, it's powerful too. But the way that they drew that, and the book, I remember the first time I actually got a copy, I think I found this like at a flea market up in Vermont where my family is from. And it was mint condition.
Oh, wow.
And it was like,
that's awesome. Oh,
it's hard to find anything from that era in mint condition.
Now it's like, man. In fact, I'll be honest, I don't even think I own it in mint condition because I was a kid when I saw it. But when I saw it, I was like, Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And that was still. I mean, I was literally like maybe 6 years old, and still at the point where, if it wasn't Archie, I wouldn't roll it over. Or Richie Rich, I'd roll those over. I was
Richie
like,
Rich.
these are no way, nothing's done.
Right,
That
some of
one
those.
got, really easy page turns. I love the art on this one. So, and I loved when Dennis had said, "Oh, dude, that's that whole silver age of the Submariner, like 1 through even up to the 50s. Every one of those things is really brilliantly done. So, check those out."
Richie Rich and Archie are responsible for one of my favorite, impossible to find, amazing comic book collectibles ever.
What?
Okay, so Chris Garvey over at Untamed Worlds,
Mhm.
he's got one of these things. If you collect comics, if you read comics, if you just want to know what the heck I'm talking about, you got to go by Untamed Worlds because he's got one.
Oh.
He's one of the only people alive, I swear, that has one of these
No
things.
kidding.
Remember the old spinner racks for comics?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
remember at the
Mhm.
top it just says comics, so there's like a boxy sort of a sign on the top.
Sure.
Do you remember who's on the top on the sign?
I remember. Yeah, it's like the Richie Rich and
It's
it's
Richie
Archie.
Rich, Archie.
Is it Jughead?
Richie
Casper?
Rich, Archie, Spider-Man, and Superman. Those 4 on one piece of marketing together.
Wow.
And they've 4 different publishers, the masthead characters from those 4 publishers
How about
on
that?
one piece of memorabilia, one piece of marketing, in one place, no lawsuits.
Dude, and you know what? I remember that exact thing.
You
Mhm.
can't find those spinner racks.
When
Yeah.
we were kids.
They were standard because stuff like that was being
7-Eleven
produced by
would
Oh, yeah.
the newsstands.
Like, everywhere you
That's
go, they would
right,
have
you
them.
know?
And now you can't find them.
Now you can't. And
Because I remember somebody asking if he had sell them. He's like, no, I'm not selling
No,
them.
there's no, because I ask him every Wednesday. It's never going to happen. I found one. There was one vendor at Baltimore Comic Con one year who had 2 or 3, and he was willing to let go of the one that was rusted and destroyed for about $2,500.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, rusted and destroyed.
Wow.
Man, let me tell you, I know I don't own this, but that thing is so familiar to me
Mhm.
that I'm thinking, do I have one of these?
The answer is no. You don't.
I was like, I might have one of these spin racks. I don't. But
Nobody does.
I remember back in the day that being,
But
Awesome.
Untamed Worlds definitely
I
has
remember.
them.
Yeah.
Nice.
So right there and right in the front of the building. There it is.
Yep.
you know what? That might be why it's even more on my mind lately.
Yeah.
I've seen it all.
My place of business is next door.
Yeah.
I was like, I see that. All right, finish us up, my friend.
All right, last one. And this is one that I've talked to Troy about. He said he recently saw it. And no, it's not Harley Quinn. And I'm saving Harley for next time. But what it is Detective Comics 880. What it is, you got the Joker space. It's the next to last issue in that run before they rechange the numbers. And you got the Joker space made of bats. You see the bats flying out.
Oh, Jock did that cover?
I do not know who did that cover. But the sad part is I do not have that.
You have a picture of it?
Yes, I can find one.
Awesome. Because I think I know who did that. And if it's the
really?
one I think it is, then it also has been stolen and lifted and thieved and reproduced a million times
Mhm.
as
Kinda have a-
cell phone covers and
It's everywhere.
seat
Yeah, it's
pillows
everywhere.
We kind of had a little time trying to track down the original source of it because it was in so many places in so
Mhm.
many different forms.
That happened to me at Heroes. While you're looking for that happened to me at Heroes 3 or 4 years back. A guy came to my table and he saw my convention banner, and it's a Joker painting that I did years and years ago. And it's for the last 3 years it's been hanging at the Metropolis Art Gallery. So it's sort of been on tour, I guess you'd say. But I just got it back. But when he was that's Jock's cover, yeah. When he came to the table, he's like, "You did that, Joker?" Yes. Because that'll happen. I could have the brush in my hand and somebody will ask me, "Did you paint all these?" Yeah, yes, I did.
The paint is still wet.
It's still. I'm doing it right now, dude.
It's only half
With my
done.
pinky.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
He was like, "You painted that?" Yes, I did.
How many times
Oh
can we
my
say it?
Because he just kept saying, he kept looking at his friend. He's like, "Well, this is weird." And I'm like, "What's weird? It wasn't a cover. It was used, but it wasn't a cover." And he pulls out his phone case. And it's on his phone case.
That's awesome.
Your piece.
Yeah, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
Because not a dime fell into my pocket. I was like, where'd you get it? He's like, I found it on an Etsy store. And right away, my rep is online looking for sources, shutting people down. He is a pit bull. He is the man. So I'm lucky to be with Comic Art House. But that was the first time that it happened. but it never happened to me before.
Flattered and angry in the same.
Yeah, it's
second.
a very weird feeling.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
So I asked my rep about it, and he was like, "Oh God, talk to him and him and him. Ask them about it." So I went on to Etsy, and I was like, "Sure enough, wow, this piece is popular, and I'm not getting paid for it."
Oh,
Jeez.
So anyway, that really happened. So that cover, that Batman cover, Jock created something that is off the charts artistic, and just he nailed a feeling using geometric shapes. I love that cover. And I remember when it came out, because I took one look at it and I was like, this is going to get thieved all day. They're going to steal this.
That's going to be on socks.
Day.
Yeah, the sad part is, I remember when it came out.
Deck. This is Spaceballs, the toilet paper. This is exactly
I
what's
love
going
that in Spaceballs.
Yeah.
Spaceballs are toilet paper.
They're going to take this one way too far. And now when I look at, I'm so cynical now, I look at covers, I'm like, yep, this one's getting thieved.
Yeah.
When is that good?
It's brand new on Wednesday. It's on Etsy on Friday.
Oh.
Like, somebody's made coasters out of it already.
Dude, as an artist, that's got to be so, like, man,
I'm flattered that you think so highly of my work. Effing pay me.
Hey,
Yeah.
So, how enraged can I be and still want to hug you? Like,
Yeah.
in jiu-jitsu, we have answers for that.
Yes, exactly right.
Jiu-jitsu size everything.
Yes.
Yeah, you can hug and murder at the same time.
Yes.
Touch man, your first lessons.
This is actually something that was not touched on Seinfeld.
I
watched enough Seinfeld to get where you were going with that.
It's like it's about nothing, but it's about everything except this.
Exactly.
That's right.
And I tell you what, for volume 1, that was solid.
Yeah.
That was a lot of good stuff right there.
I'm having fun. Call me back.
All I know is I want to actually find that comic for under like $40 or $50 now.
Which one?
$8.80.
Oh,
I actually missed
it costs that much?
Yeah, it's going for like $40-$50 now. Some people asking like $70 and $80. It's like, good luck with
You
that.
still haven't bought it?
No, I totally missed it. I kept looking for it. It's like $30. I'm not paying $30. Now it slowly keeps creeping up.
What? I remember seeing it when it came out, just being in love with the imagery. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's literally nothing more than the cover.
Really?
It's the last one in that run was 881, and then they switched numbers. I think the new 52 come out after that, I believe.
Then that's why, because they wrapped up a print run.
Yeah, but 881 is not very much at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you something. There's something called buyer's remorse, where you buy something and then after the purchase, you're like, oh man. Well, there's also something called not buyer's remorse.
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
Because I'm going to tell you this, I remember that they had the statue. It was Wolverine on top of one of the Sentinel's heads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a real famous piece, and I remember I had
Yep.
an opportunity, and do not hate on me for this. I had a chance to buy it for like $20.
What?
And I didn't have the money with me. And I was an adult at the time, but I literally went in there and I was like, I have like $10 in my wallet.
You know what?
Mhm.
I'm gonna promote like hell. Go on Jim Worlds and ask Chris, because he's one of those guys who knows a guy who knows a guy
Who knows a guy who knows a guy.
He knows all the guys.
Well, the thing is now I can find it for $200.
That's what I'm saying. Go down Jim Worlds.
And I'm like, if I could go back and talk to that Troy and say, you go home, go get $20 right now, come right back and get this. Because when I came back, it was gone.
Oh no, I've had that dream where I went back and talked to younger me just so I could sit down and say, Walking Dead's a good idea.
I kick myself every day.
No, it's okay. The red and black Harley Quinn. Ignore what she looks like. Just ignore it. Just buy it. Just shut up. Just buy it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've never heard of her. Just buy it. Trust me. Just trust me.
I wish I had those.
I think the cheapest I've seen. What was it? Animated Batman series.
The Batman Adventures 12. Yeah.
12. Yeah.
Somebody at this table had one and would not sell it to me.
I sold it for about $600.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Really?
Yeah.
the cheapest I've ever seen it was $300. That was in questionable condition.
Yeah, the last show I was at, somebody had
What issue is this? What are you talking about?
First appearance of
The
Harley
detective-
Quinn.
That's the one you guys are talking about.
Yeah,
Animated
and-
Batman.
Yeah.
Animated series
I had
number
no idea
12.
I had it. I went through a box.
Yeah, he had it in a box of trash.
You know
People
what?
like you make me sick.
I know, it makes me sick too, because Harley is one of my favorite characters.
If I go home and I find that, because I could have.
And you could give me one. No, he's not.
How much of the incredible podcast do I get ownership of?
Well, see, this is a subject we should have touched on much earlier. Now that I have celebrities coming in. Now that I have celebrities coming in.
Well,
Who's he talking about? Who are you talking about?
Well, my friend Laura, who's in movies, she's going to be on.
I thought you meant me. Wow, now I really feel like an ass.
You're just one of the guys now.
There's not enough vodka in this bottle of water for me to feel better about what I just said.
I'm telling you,
I am really, really good at popping some egos.
Oh, he's terrible, man. If you guys don't know the D, this is a brutal individual.
Brutally
We love
honest.
him,
Brutally
he is
honest.
Brutally honest.
Yeah, one of my friends, she's like, I used to joke with her about having a mustache. She doesn't have a mustache. And one day I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go find me some like a bottle of nuts. He gave me, and I'm gonna get you a bottle of mustachios.
That's not
Dude, you're so wrong.
She literally went to her hairstyle. I was like, by the way, do I have anything on my lip? It's like,
wax?
I'm in your head now. I win.
Hey,
And that's why she won't come train me.
good job.
Next time you're talking to her, just regardless of what the topic is, just kind of zero in on
Yes.
one spot. Just,
Oh, yeah.
just look right above her upper lip, and then when she mentions something, just look up, kind of shocked, to go,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Now, did you
Yeah.
say, Matt, you had like a background in public relations?
I may have
we need to
dabbled
have
in.
you.
He's like, I don't think you can fix this.
We need to have you fetch sour guy here.
No, something like that, you double down.
Yeah. And she literally looked at me and goes, you know what I like about you? I'm like, what? He goes, you're the most honest person I know.
That's why people hate me.
That's all real quick, right?
Yeah.
Very strong woman, Troy. Good idea.
That works against you. I was in art school for a long time, and people say, "What do you think of this?" I hate it. You don't know anything.
Yeah.
Well, you asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't want
You know,
Oh, I always love the people that if you say something that they agree with, you're the smartest person ever. The first second you disagree, you are a moron. You're just a doofus.
When I was doing turtle stuff, man, you should have seen the people flip like coins. They were like, "Who's your favorite intro, Raphael?" Pfft, never mind. Well, I'm
It's
sorry.
obviously
I
Mike.
have a lot in common with the guy. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, I have a lot in common with Mikey now that we mention it.
Yeah. I mean,
Just give me some
people are like,
pizza.
"Don't you love Donatello? He's fun." Well, who's your favorite, Raph? Oh, so you don't? I mean, so you're not really into turtles then?
Gosh, what are you talking
Oh
about?
wow! So if Archangel's my favorite X-Man, obviously I hate Wolverine. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
and Archangel is my favorite.
Dude, I remember when that came
Make it
out,
flat.
they showed him, I was like, ooh, they blued him up. What happened? That was not Hillbilly for he got blown up either.
Oh,
They made him blue.
oh.
They blew him
Apocalypse
up.
was on his A game that day.
They blew him up.
They blew him up. Hey, that's an incredibly stellar way to finish Volume 1.
That
They
is.
Blew him up.
They done blew him up. We're about to blew up this podcast.
Part 2, are we going to take and go back on comic covers, or are we going to hit panels next time?
Gotta hit panels.
You got to hit panels, yeah.
Gotta hit panels.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We'll give this a little break and then come back with the panels. Next week, UFC. Actually, mixed martial arts. Martial arts. We'll go back from the beginning, which I'll let you guys handle. When it gets to the UFC, I can jump in.
Yeah, yeah.
I might actually be quiet for a couple seconds.
Uh-huh.
No,
That's not possible.
that is not possible.
Dude,
Anything else,
good
guys?
stuff.
Matt, you got anything coming up, by the way?
Oh, I have a lot of conventions coming up.
He does not have his calendar with him.
I really, really don't.
Right here in Rome,
and I'm not one of
in
those.
April.
Yeah.
April's going to be a busy month.
Like
I'm
April
not
9th. April 9th is for...
April 9th?
Yeah.
It's when I leave I'm pond hopping. I'm going to another country
Ah.
for a little
Oh.
while.
No kidding, awesome, dude.
Yeah, well, it's
I'll get you some business cards. So you
kidding.
can, I'll give you some business cards. You can
Well,
pass those
that's nice.
out.
Yeah.
I'm taking some much needed vacation time.
Oh.
So we're gonna head south and try to not to commit too many crimes. And
Yeah. man.
Run fast.
yeah,
The key to it is don't get caught.
I want to be friends with El Chapo. I think he's got the answers. I think he's figured it out. And if I can just make the right kind of friends, then I'm gonna be okay in life. And he seems to be untouchable, so he's my boy.
There you
But
go.
as soon as I get back, there are conventionings. See, that's how tired I am. Con of the Mountain is happening, I think, the week after that. That's in Clifton Forge.
Mhm.
So I'll be doing that. And then Tidewater Comic Con is after that. That is
Yeah, that's what I'm
May.
looking at going to.
Tidewater's
Yeah.
amaze balls.
Mhm.
It really
Trying to get a
is-
group of guys together and go to that.
that is a ridiculous, fun,
Mhm.
amazing show.
Really?
Yep, and this year, I don't know how he pulled it off, but the promoter, who I would love to name because he's a buddy, but I don't know, I don't want to put him in any
It's like, I don't
shoes,
even know
so
his
I'll
name.
just call him the promoter. He's got all the Batmobiles in that room. All of them.
Vince
From
McMahon.
66 to Tumblr.
Wow.
I ain't playing. I'm not playing.
Really?
Go to the website.
Yeah,
go
we're
to
not
Tidewater
talking-
Comic
That's a
Con.
Tide one?
Tidewater Comic Con.
We're not talking models. We're talking actual
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, like
Holy cow.
I've
That's
been to that
awesome.
convention center. I'm not sure how they're going to get the tumbler in there. I've been there. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Awesome.
So there are at
I'm
least 4 Batmobiles that I know for sure.
Well, I'm paying some money to get some pictures with them.
You got it.
When is that
Yeah.
one?
That
April?
is May 21st, 21st, and
20
22nd.
the one.
21st and 22th.
Oh, poor JP.
And then after that, of course,
I'll be out of town too. I'll be in town.
Heroes
tomorrow.
is a thing. Heroes Con in Charlotte.
Love
Yeah.
Heroes.
No,
That's,
love
uh,
it.
Like, are you really trying to
But here's the thing,
Heroes
Troy
Con is
can never
church.
go to that.
You gotta go.
Yeah.
Heroes Con is church.
I used to always do that one, and then my son's birthday almost is every single weekend. They're doing it right at that weekend, and it's
When's Riley's?
right there.
Yeah, I thought they were both right
It
there.
goes
Yeah, like a
Connor's
couple days
birthday, my
apart.
son, then my dad's birthday is the next day, and my daughter's birthday is right after.
Yeah, I was thinking it's like 2 days apart, something like that. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
well, now he's old enough to.
God!
Like, I don't know if he would dig it, but now at 12, man.
Oh yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
get up to Heroes.
Yeah, he was
like
awesome.
for a guy like me, the convention floor is church, and Heroes
Mhm.
Con is Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You're at the church now because
Yeah.
Heroes is the show for artists and writers and creators. Sheldon's done such a great job of fighting that fight to make sure it stays comic pure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great, you're a movie star. Good for you. This is about comics.
Yeah.
You know, great, you're a car company who promoted Transformers. Good for you. This is about writing.
Yeah.
This is about
yeah.
art. This is about
Yeah.
collecting.
Yeah.
That's the
It's-
spot. So
And when I go
It
there,
is
I just
amazing.
have the best time because
Mhm.
I hate to say this, and I don't want you guys to take this the wrong way.
I already hate you.
But I've gone a couple of times.
That was
with
easy.
friends, and the biggest thing is
The biggest thing.
the biggest thing was that I always wanted to take and have as much time to myself in my world to search and
Yeah.
not feel like, hey man, I'm sorry, I'll be right over there. You know?
well, the three shows that I can name with ease, where you can go to be a comic book fan, just for comics, and just search through the boxes
Right.
with ease. Heroes, Tidewater Comic Con, and Baltimore Comic Con.
Oh,
Like,
that's good stuff.
Those three right off the bat. Awesome Con is on that list too, but Awesome kind of transcends comics at this point. Like Awesome Con,
fantasy and all that.
it's not just that. Awesome has built a 3-ring circus where it's the greatest show on earth, and one ring is comics, and the other thing is celebrities and whatnot, but it's directly comic related, so you can cross over a little bit. And then there's the gaming side of things, but it's all going to be comic related. It is a great
Where's that?
sci-fi fantasy. It was in DC for a long time.
Don't ask me.
DC, I'm pretty sure it's still in DC.
Because everything
As
I think
big as
awesome, it should be in my house. Because I am awesome.
I don't know the numbers. I really don't. I don't know the numbers.
I just love when I go into Heroes how massive.
Yeah, I like that it's really
Yeah, oh, it's
open.
great.
So, because we went to Charlotte Minicon. If you want to get a box of comic to look through them, you got to elbow people out of the way.
Yeah, it turns
That
out
annoys me to no end.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
I like having room. And when
Yeah.
you go to Heroes, you have room to search.
Well, one of the things
And
that
I love it. It's so
about
big
Heroes-
and spread out.
and this will either be a plus or a minus depending on who you ask. It opens early enough on a Friday,
Yes.
but depending on who you ask, again, vendors and such might have a problem with that because for the most part, people are still at work.
Yeah.
People are still in
Mhm.
school. It's low foot traffic. But for the diehards and the real fans who are there to get
Take a
sketches,
day off.
you take a day off from work
Yeah.
to get a sketch from their favorite artist, to go digging through the boxes
That's
for
when
back
I go.
issues,
It's Friday.
who want to just sit and watch the artists on stage. And
Mhm.
I mean, that's the day to go. Preview day. They call it preview day, but that's the day to chill because Saturday is the circus.
Yeah. Yeah. mhm.
And I love the circus, don't get me wrong.
Well,
But it's a
I went to
different feeling.
Heroes.
Yeah.
I went to Heroes last year because I got a 3-day pass.
Mhm.
And I went to that Friday, and it was like a dozen people in there, and it felt like that's all it was in that whole big room.
Yeah.
So you could just go to every table and just sit there, take your time. It was great.
The last time I went, I remembered that I had an opportunity. I saw Scotty Young there, and I wanted to get a piece done by him.
You better set up a tent in front of his table, boy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He had a list already when I got there, and I was there pretty
I
early.
think that's the same thing I do, which is what all of us do, which is you start a list a month or two before the show starts.
Gotcha.
So, I mean,
was like, "Man, there's no one here. How does that list get so long so quick?
Yeah, I do sketches at shows, of course. I even do smaller paintings at shows. I love to paint. I do better with that than I do with pencils. I honestly feel like I do.
Wow.
But for a show well in advance, I can open myself up because I've got the time to do it. Here's want an 11 by 17 full color, something that looks like a finished covered piece. I mean, I have the time to do that now, so I think every artist pretty much does that.
How long does it take you to do a piece like that?
Depending on what's involved, because I've had people say, I just want a simple picture of Spider-Man jumping through the air. Okay, well then, if it's a full color, 11 by 17, the whole 9 yards, something that's very simple that I can just do in my sleep, it might only take a few days. But then there are other things. I did a Thanos recently, where he's holding up the gauntlet and the gems are going crazy, and I've got different light sources, and that took every bit of 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And then I did a Hulk Black Widow piece that was a private commission, and what that piece entailed and what needed to be done took about a week for one page, and then prices reflect that.
Do you have a website where they can see these in the gallery?
Well, I mean, the easiest thing to do is hit me up on Facebook, because I keep my page pretty much public.
Nice.
And it's really about comics and nerd stuff only. So I get it. It's 2016, but the rules stand. No politics, no religion, no professional sports.
Okay. Well, you lost me at sports.
No,
I was right with you.
I'm a sports fan, but I don't want people going to war on my Facebook page.
Right.
Argue about who would win, Sabretooth or Wolverine. That's a cool argument to have. I like that. I don't care if your team won and you need to brag about it.
Man. I've got so many of those people. Oh my goodness.
But they can find me at Comic Art House. I'm represented by Bob Shaw at Comic Art House. So comicarthouse.com is one way to do it. But I've got a lot of new art coming up to that website, so there's some updates that need to happen.
Nice.
And other than that, I'm still one of those people who likes to use DeviantArt.
Oh, I love DeviantArt.
Yeah,
just
it gets there are a lot of professionals that website sucks. Well, kind of, because that's where the swipers are getting their material.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you're like me and you know that they're doing it, and you just think it's really funny to mess with their day, and then you lower the native resolution all the way down to like 10, and then save it as a JPEG, so when they try to print it out, it's a mess. I'll be that guy. It's funny to me.
Right. Well, you gotta strike back, right?
Yeah, there's nothing I can do. But I don't have an actual art of Matt Slay. There's nothing like that, because I haven't really needed it. But I have a feeling something like that is in my future, because one of the things that I've spent the last year and a half working on, not entirely quietly, but quite enough. I've been writing my.
It's about to go worldwide.
Room wide.
Yeah. Wait till they get a hold of this in Australia.
That's right.
Steve.
Ready here,
Oh, dude, right? What is it? I missed it.
I've been working on 3-story dungeon, which started out as I was going to do like a little web comic, like a Tumblr kind of a comic.
Yeah.
And what it turned into was a year in the life of just really weird. This is because the number one question I get is, I can't believe you get to do this. You're so lucky. What's it like? Well, sometimes it's freaking torture.
Right.
And 3-story dungeon became the name of my house. So, yeah, there's room. And, yeah, I'm trapped in it from sun up to sundown sometimes.
Right,
and that's why conventions are so important to me, because I haven't seen the sky in months. So,
because I know you were telling me for the Virginia Comic Con, you had how many commissions beforehand?
There were 15 going into the show, but 9 of them were done beforehand, but the others were like 9 by 12 black and white pieces that I knew I could do pretty quickly.
Because I know I saw some of the stuff you put online. I was like, wow, some of it's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. But that kind of contributes to the dungeon feel.
Yeah.
But it ended up being a bunch of stories. Just this is the weird crap that happens to you when you do this job, and live this life, and you realize that you're just trying to live the life. And is that what it's like for everybody who has a quote unquote real job? Or are you just trying to get through life? And then, through no fault of my own, I mean, life happens. And 2015 ended up being the worst year of my life.
Oh, wow.
Like the worst. Professionally, personally, psychologically, I don't know.
Right.
Just the worst. And I thought this was going to be a really funny book. I thought I was onto something here. And then there was this period where because it's 1 chapter per week.
Right.
52 weeks in a year, 52 chapters in the book.
Is it a comic or a book?
No, this is a book. But it wasn't supposed to be that way. I took all the cartoons that I'd done and I thought this needs more. So I'm actually writing a big boy book
Oh.
with words
Oh.
and the
I
occasional.
don't know how to read
cartoon.
that.
No pictures, what?
It's a rough one for me too.
It needs a
I
balloon
have to put
beside
all
it.
these words in order. I don't like. Nobody's ever paid me to do that before.
He already admitted that he's not a wordsmith.
I haven't worded in a long time.
He does not know how to word up.
But it became this much bigger thing, and then there was this weird sort of self-confrontational moment where it's like, I started off doing this a year in the life of, and I'm not being true to what the whole point of this project is, and I'm not being true to every other artist who has to live the artist life.
Right.
If I don't include the bad with the good,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of is life. You don't have a choice.
Mhm.
Your bad's coming, and then you got to figure out a way to make it your good.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
that, I just fall back on. There's a lot of that in martial arts training.
100%.
You're not going to win every fight.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you went home unscathed, maybe you didn't try so hard.
Mhm.
So that's what it became. And then I thought, this year's coming to an end, and it's the worst year of my life, but I'm not going to end on that note. And so by looking at the book and forcing myself, I got to bring this back to even keel. I got to come back to happy. I want people to laugh their asses off when they read this.
Right.
And that forced me to move on. That forced me to kind of like, you can't end in that direction. You have
That's good medicine.
You have to go in this other direction.
Dude, that's good.
And then I had a whole lot of people are like, you need to talk to somebody. I don't want to talk to somebody. I want to finish my book.
Yeah.
That's what I need to do. And I finished it, and I never felt so pure
Very
and
good.
just so clean. And it's probably the reason Andy hasn't seen me in
Yeah.
a long time. So, sorry, Andy.
Yeah.
No,
Nothing but love.
nothing but love. Yeah, Andy's my trainer for everybody wondering.
Andy Henson.
Yep, the man.
That's one of our guys.
He
Love Andy.
but yeah, he hasn't seen me in a long time, but he knows what I'm going through, and he knows what I went through, and he's been supportive the whole time. So,
Good. Good.
yeah, but I had to focus my kung fu and get that book done,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a feeling that's going to be a Kickstarter, because Barnes & Noble threw a number at me, but then I read the fine print.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm not going to get into the fine print here, but there's a
You
reason.
got 4 stories now.
No, well, it would, but
It originally
then
started
they would
as
be
one story.
reclaiming It would be minus 4 stories by the time they're done with me.
Yeah, hey.
So I have a feeling this one's going to go to Kickstarter. So we're going to see who actually wants to hear what I have to say, I guess.
Nice.
3-story dungeon. How soon can we see it out?
Depends
As soon
on
as it's
Kickstarter.
done. All the cartoons are done. The actual book is done. I'm getting a foreword done and an afterword by 2 people who have made a huge impact on comedy writing, on like the observational humor of the comic book industry. I'm not going to name them until I have pieces in hand.
Don't worry, you can just go ahead and mention my name. That's fine.
And then I'm currently I'm about halfway done with the cover. And if I do throw it up online, it's going to be a finished product. The only thing
Mhm.
that'll be hanging is the actual publication. I'm not going to do a Kickstarter where we make a ton of money and then I spend the next 4 years trying to make the thing, because I've been involved with projects that I should have been more attentive to, and I can't go through that again. So
Not on this, especially,
Yeah.
right?
this will be the first thing I've ever worked on that has my name and only my name on it.
So this will be your baby.
It is,
Mhm.
and now that the actual book is done, people go, "Where do you go from here?" I have no freaking clue. I have no idea. So I'm putting my name back out in the publisher hats, where it's just like, okay, I'm ready to start painting again.
That's
I'm
awesome.
done indulging this little fantasy.
Oh, good for you, man.
And
That
for
sounds
the
neat, though.
and really for the record, last year 2015 is when we actually started talking about doing this podcast. So I apologize for that.
What?
He said 2015 was one of his worst years. I was like, yeah, that's when we started talking about
That's
getting
because
him on the
I was bugging
podcast.
him.
And I'd like to
not at all.
apologize for that.
Seriously, getting me out of the old dungeon. This is medicine. This is wonderful.
Dude, awesome.
Mhm.
That's one thing. We don't make any money on this, but we have a good time.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. I hope that comes through.
Next time, shots.
Mhm.
What?
Shot? Well, I got a shot of high quality H2O. That's about all I got left of it, too.
Fantastic. Next week, panels.
No, next week, UFC.
Next week, martial arts.
Yes, martial arts.
Gotcha.
And then sometime up in the near future, we'll hit those panels.
Hey,
So I still got a lot of those to find and look for. There's so many great ones.
Oh, the ones I sent you
Mhm.
were easy. I got stuff like stairs
Mhm.
that my mind is so full of
dude,
panels taken out of context is my favorite thing.
Uh-huh.
I love panels taken out of context.
Awesome. And next time I'll make sure I have all of mine cataloged so that I was like, well, it's not going to do any good if I can't tell anybody what the address is for the party.
Yeah.
You can't come to the party. Why? I don't remember the address. All right, man.
And that's it. Nothing else, guys?
No.
Same bad time?
Same bad channel.
That's all, folks.
That's it. And everyone, have an incredible week.